The Detroit Lions are entering a fascinating phase where expectation is no longer a distant dream, but a weekly demand. And the conversation around Detroit sports as a whole reveals just how much the landscape has shifted. For years, this city leaned on memories of icons like Barry Sanders and Steve Eiserman to define greatness. But the current era is about building new legends in real time. While debates rage about who the biggest star in Detroit sports is today, what matters most for the Lions is that they now have multiple players capable of carrying that torch nationally. This is no longer a franchise searching for relevance. This is a contender searching for the final pieces that turn deep playoff runs into championships. Inside the building, the focus is far less on celebrity and far more on sustainability, and that starts in the trenches. The upcoming draft cycle and combine evaluations show a front office determined to reinforce the offensive interior before cracks become fractures. General Manager Brad Holmes understands that championship windows close quickly when protection collapses up the middle, especially for a timing-based offense. With veteran center Graham Glasgow nearing the twilight of his career and contemplating retirement, Detroit faces a quiet but critical transition at one of the most intellectually demanding positions on the field. The Lions' identity has been built on physical dominance. And if that interior line slips even slightly, the ripple effect hits the run game, the play-action attack, and ultimately the confidence of the entire offense. What makes this situation delicate is that Detroit is not rebuilding the line from scratch. Young guard Tate Ratledge emerged as one of the most reliable players up front by the end of last season, showing the kind of technical growth that coaching staffs dream about. Moving him to center could solve one problem while creating another, because elite guard play is just as valuable in this system. The Lions must decide whether continuity or long-term planning takes priority, and that decision will echo through every offensive snap of the season. This is the kind of dilemma championship teams face, not how to become good, but how to stay great while evolving. On the defensive side, the calculus is equally complex. Detroit's front seven became the backbone of its resurgence, yet injuries exposed how thin dominance can become when depth is tested. The expected return to full health for Alim McNeill changes the entire geometry of the defensive line, especially alongside emerging force tie like Williams. Their presence allows the Lions to control the line of scrimmage without constant blitzing, which in turn protects a secondary that thrives when quarterbacks are forced into predictable throws. However, free agency departures and contract realities mean the team cannot assume last year's depth will remain intact. The front office scouting interior defensive prospects is not about replacing stars. It is about ensuring the engine never stalls. If there is a single theme tying this offseason together, it is the search for the next leap. Every elite team requires unexpected internal growth, and Detroit has several candidates poised to become household names. Cornerback Terrion Arnold represents the volatility of young talent, flashes of brilliance interrupted by injuries and inconsistency. If he stabilizes, the Lions gain a shutdown presence that transforms defensive play calling. Williams, meanwhile, embodies the unglamorous role that wins in January, absorbing double teams, collapsing pockets, and making life easier for edge rushers. And Ratledge stands as the embodiment of Detroit's philosophy, toughness refined into technique, development turned into production. Right here is where you have to ask yourself something as a fan. Are we witnessing the rise of a dynasty-caliber roster, or simply a talented team navigating a narrow window? If you believe this group is on the verge of something historic, now is the moment to commit to the journey. Stay locked in, follow every roster move, and be part of the conversation as Detroit pushes toward the ultimate goal, because seasons like this define eras. Another storyline quietly shaping the roster is the uncertain future of veteran receiver and return specialist Khalif Raymond. He may not dominate headlines, but his impact on field position and depth cannot be overstated. In tight playoff games, hidden yardage often decides outcomes, and Raymond's ability to flip the field with a single return has been a subtle weapon throughout the Dan Campbell era. Letting him walk would signal confidence in younger players, but also introduce risk, especially given the lack of proven depth behind stars like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. Championship teams balance youth and experience carefully, and Detroit must decide whether sentimentality, finances, or pure performance will guide this choice. Coaching continuity also plays a massive role in whether momentum carries forward. The departure of offensive coordinator John Morton and the arrival of Drew Petzing signals another philosophical adjustment for an offense that has already evolved multiple times in recent seasons. Scheme changes can unlock new dimensions or temporarily stall production, depending on how quickly players adapt. For quarterback Jared Goff, stability has been a key factor in his resurgence, so integrating new ideas without disrupting rhythm will be one of the most important balancing acts of the year. The best organizations treat coaching transitions as opportunities rather than setbacks, and Detroit's leadership believes its culture can absorb change without losing identity. All of this points to a franchise no longer satisfied with moral victories. The Lions have assembled talent, depth, and belief, but the margin between contender and champion is brutally thin. One breakout season from a young defender, one successful draft pick anchoring the line, or one clutch special teams play in January could define how this era is remembered. Detroit is not chasing relevance anymore. It is chasing legacy. And as this season unfolds, every snap will feel heavier because expectations have finally caught up to potential. If you have followed this team through the lean years, you understand how rare this moment is. Make sure you do not miss a second of it. Stay tuned, stay passionate, and stay ready, because the story of this Lions team is still being written, and the ending could be unforgettable.